Greetings, this is Gremlin, and this time I want to talk a bit about PvP as Monk in Diablo 3, and just take note that this is all my personal point of view and based on my own experience and on weird chats with other monks I had. But I think by now I had enough PvP encounters, or played enough PvP to give educated guesses and reasonable pointers. So I will talk about some general stuff that I consider a bit of mandatory for gearing and for skill specs, and go into more detail about what different routes you can take in the later on then. As hinted as in my part A, well, not really hint, but yeah, as mentioned there, the players are considered elites in PvP, so affixes about elites are obviously going to be strong ones, and so far I can very much confirm that, as I really cared to have my test realm char geared with elite affixes. So yeah, I will just talk a bit about gearing and specs in general then. So, let's talk a bit more about skill specs and about gearing for PvP. If you have a glance at my skill spec there, it's a bit weird because I don't have a spirit generator, but I will come to that later. The spec, however, works very fine in free-for-all for me. But I would like to talk about healing stats and other stuff you need to care for on your gear first. About the healing stats, there are two I deem really important for PvP. It's life regeneration and the health glow bonus. Health glow bonus sounds strange at first, but it also applies to potions, and you use them a lot in PvP. So if you have an item with proper health glow bonus, that really pays off in PvP. And the life regeneration, I just deem it the best healing stat in PvP. Of course, life on hit and life steal, they still heal you, of course, but they're not as efficient as in as against mobs and monsters. So it still pays off, and I enjoy having lifesteal on my Scorn, for example. It helps a bit to get some more K health here and there, but yeah, in the end it's really life regeneration that keeps me ticking there. And yeah, in the set I don't have health glow bonus, I think, or not too much, but nope, none. But yeah, it's nonetheless it's really beneficial because it boosts your life you get from potions. So in general, just try to get as much life regeneration as possible on your gear in total. I will talk about the slots and choices a bit more specifically a bit later on. Next thing I want to talk about is the spirit regeneration. There are only limited options where you can go with spirit regeneration. It's the helm with spirit stones, it's Stone of Jordan ring, it's a Zephyrian amulet, I think it's called, and it's the monk weapons, fists and diabos. The Zephyrian amulet, if there are decent damage stats as well on it, it's priced insanely high. So I consider that quite a preference and budget option if you have the high budget to pay for that. Finding proper weapons with decent spirit regeneration and proper damage, I found it to be very hard. They either don't exist, or if you find them, they're overpriced by a lot. So in the end, but I consider getting a spirit stone with high spirit regeneration and a Stone of Jordan as quite mandatory for PvP. Stone of Jordan not only for the spirit regeneration, of course, but yeah, I will come to damaging stuff later on as well. So yeah, basic concepts: get a lot of life regeneration on your gear, and aim to get high spirit regeneration on your helm, and if possible, if you can afford it, get a Stone of Jordan. Yeah, that's about the spirit regeneration and the healing stats. Okay, then let's talk about the gear in more detail there. As said, life regeneration is king, and as mentioned before, affixes against elites also, or elites, also apply to players. So I deem the Blackthorne set somewhat of the best in slot set, because it supplies a lot of defensive affixes by default, and also a lot of damage and mitigation affixes against elites. I don't know of any other set that provides as much affixes against elites and as much defensive stuff. And it still provides somewhat proper DPS. So going slot by slot, the chest has a high resistance roll by default and a reduction from ranged attacks, which is really nice, and 3 slots. You have 2 random rolls there. I personally went with a high vitality roll and high life regeneration roll. The belt has 2 random rolls as well. Because of the 2 set bonus of 100 vitality, I just chose to go with dual resist here. As default, the belt gets high dexterity, armor and life regeneration, so yeah, kinda all you want to have there. The pants by default have life on hit and a life percentage roll, and got 2 random rolls. I personally went with a nice double roll for dexterity and vitality, and a fire resist roll for my chosen resist. Sorry. The boots also have 2 random rolls. As default rolls, they got armor, life regeneration and movement speed, and reduction from damage from elites. So that's really nice for defensive. I went with high dexterity and somewhat proper vitality here. So, and as you can see, the 3 and 4 set boni are really nice. More damage and against elites, and less damage taken from elites. So the whole set really provides a lot of defensive stuff, and also provides enough dexterity to not cripple your DPS too hard. In comparison to the inner set, you lose out on damage modifiers like attack speed and critical chance on the pants and so on, but I found the defenses Blackthorne set in total provides are far superior. So yeah, that's about the Blackthorne set. You could of course go with the for the 4 set bonus with the metal, and open up the option to go with a 2 set bonus from inner. If you want to go so, yeah, you need to juggle around the statistics and choose yourself which item would be more beneficial for you. I think it would still be the best to go with the more defensive option and go with the chest from inner, but yeah, it's a bit about your personal preference. If you go with this setup for the Blackthorne, and if you decide to go with Blackthorne, that opens up your options on the helm, because it doesn't need to be an inner helm, as you don't go for a 2 set bonus anyways, so you can just go with any spirit stone that satisfies you. That should provide some more and cheaper options there, with rares for example. On the shoulders, Wire Ward still prevails as best in slot. especially in PvP, because of the default all resist, armor and life regeneration. On gloves, just go with decent ones. If possible, of course, with armor and life regeneration. For the rings, I personally consider the Stone of Jordan mandatory as the aggressive choice. So my other choice for the more defensive option is the Litany of the Undaunted, because of the reduction from elites you get by default there, and you get an default resistance, all resistance roll there, and high dexterity and armor. So no, I think the armor is random. But yeah, life regeneration, all resist, and reduction from elites, the damage from elites. So this is a very nice defensive option there. So yeah, that's basically the items you can aim for. The amulet and bracers, just fill them up with decent rares you deem fit. So as a facet, yeah, Blackthorne set, the 4 set bonus is what you're going for to get all the damage and mitigation modifiers against elites, and decent vitality and resists. Then yeah, just go with a decent spirit stone for spirit regeneration, a decent stone of Jordan for the spirit regeneration, for the damage against elites. They can roll up to 30, so yeah, it should be somewhat in the mid or high 20% range. And just pick a skill you you prefer. I personally prefer the Wave of Light, so I went with that. And as another ring, the defensive option is the Litany. The offensive option is the Wailing Horse that got damage against elites as affix, but I enjoy to be more tanky. And yeah, as shoulders still why what are your end goal. So yeah, that's basically it about the gear choices in general. Okay, as key markers to give you somewhat of a checklist, I didn't play around too much, so I didn't try to really find out sweet spots. I just tried to stay above 600 resists, somewhat in the range of 4k armor, and get as much life as possible, as well as much affixes against elites, defensive for the boots here, for example, and offensive with the Stone of Jordan. So yeah, at least for me that stats work very well, and yeah, I'm doing quite fine against any class in 101 at the moment, as long as they are on the same gear level. I met some players that outgeared me by at least 1 billion or something, that just trashed me, and I couldn't do anything about that, but yeah, it's just the way that goes. It's a bit gear dependent game after all. So, but in general, that stats really helped me to survive and to endure some damage. And against some classes, you just have to eat through some damage to even get close to them in order to be able to kill them. So you want to have high life and somewhat okay resist and armor. And yeah, this damage reduction from armor and resist paired with the reduction I get to elites, that worked out really well, and with the life I have. So PvP wise I have a lot of effective health points there, and yeah, I think you should really aim to get at least plus 50k HP. Try to get as close or somewhat close to 600 resist at least, and 4k armor. At least that's that are values that work well for me. And yeah, that's in general the key stats if you want to have somewhat of a checklist there. Okay, let's talk a bit more about the specs. I will start with a two-hand spec, and for two-hand weapons. I won't go into detail about every room and compare every room. I just will explain what I went for and why. A very basic and mandatory setup I deem the Mantra of Healing with circular breathing for the spirit regeneration, and the Guardian's Path passive as well for this increased spirit regeneration or generation for well, if you have two-hand weapons equipped. The Mantra of Healing as well provides life per second and damage absorption if you spam the mantra. That really helps. For example, well, just of course if you have a flat fight, but yeah, normally in a fight you want to spend your spirit for your damage skills. But if you yeah, after the fight, for example, you kill the barbarian and still have a rend on you, that really helps you to survive, to just spam your mantra to let the shield eat up the damage there. So yeah, that ones are quite mandatory. The Serenity, your yeah, immunity bubble, you really need that. And I personally prefer the instant karma to just yeah, reflect damage. A lot of players just keep attacking you no matter if you have it active or not. So I've had a lot of players that just killed themselves while I was in Serenity. Especially if you're low on health, and if you pop Serenity, then a lot of people just tunnel vision you and blast the cooldowns and just kill themselves then. So yeah, compared to the other ones, this one just stood out for me. Yeah, the seven-sided strike I also consider quite mandatory, just because it provides immunity, and it is for almost everyone I met so far. Almost everything that gets fetched up in that, apart from high vitality barbarians or monks, are one shot with that. So yeah, I preferred the sustained attack to just reduce the cooldown. It just was for me the best option. I didn't see the need for more damage because most stuff is one shot anyways. I didn't see the need for more number of strikes as well. And yeah, the stun looks appealing, but yeah, as said, most stuff is one shot anyways. And the Fulmination Onslaught is just a very good AoE option if you have a lot of stuff packed. So this is just the PvE option, but yeah, I deem sustained attack more beneficial for PvP because you just want to use it a lot. This is kinda your I win button. So yeah, I just prefer to be able to use it a lot. Apart from that, this is your high damage skill, Wave of Light. I prefer to have the cost reduction because else you really starve on spirit too fast if you use the other runes. Even though some really look appealing, like having a very high damage there, but yeah, you just want to use it more often because sometimes you just don't hit your target, and if you fail to hit it 2 times in a row and have to wait for your spirit to use it again, then that just doesn't really work in PvP. And a lot of people are still one shot with this skill, even on higher gear levels, because a lot of people still go for more damage instead of life. So yeah, as long as you just survive the first attack, they are almost always one shot with Wave of Light anyways, so you just want to be able to use more Wave of Lights. The Quicksilver, or the Dashing Strike, is just your mobility skill. Of course, if you use Fist of Thunder, sorry, you can teleport as well. Dashing Strike, however, provides nice weapon damage in a spike, and it roots your target. However, you get stuck on walls or something quite often, so you have to use it multiple times in a row sometimes. And if you stay on the other runes with 25 spirit per use, that really adds up, so I prefer the Quicksilver rune there. Even though others look appealing, like movement speed and the chance to stun. I use the stun rune quite long, but yeah, it doesn't really work out so too well. The stun just didn't work too well, either to dodge or because of other things like smoke screen or the well, evasion skill the witch doctors have. I don't know the name, sorry, and or the Renity. So there's just too much to counter that. So I just like to be able to dash around more with the Quicksilver rune. Yeah, apart from that, I used Fist of Thunder with the spec initially, but yeah, as said, I didn't use it too much, or very rarely. So I just tried to put Exploding Palm there, and it works very well. It can't be dodged, so it is a very nice skill against monks. So in Monk vs Monk, and yeah, if you have the barbarians, a quite popular fighting style is rend and run, R and R, so to say. And if you pop an exploding palm on them, that really counters their fighting style, because you normally have just more healing with the mantra to yeah. So normally the fight rend versus exploding palm, you normally win that on same gear level. For me, this rune stood out because if they still, if you have someone who just sticks around, the damage increasement for 12% there really helps to just one-shot them with either Wave of Light or Seven-Sided Strike if they stay close to you. So yeah, if you have targets that or players that just bugger off very fast, like wizards, or well, if you have a running barbarian or something, just put an exploding palm on them, and quite often they are gone with one application there, or you at least get them down quite much. So yeah, that's about for the active skills. For the passives, I personally need to go with one with everything to get high resist. If you have the goal to buy enough all resist, then you can go with whatever you like. I personally, in this setup, would go with pacifism. So yeah, I deem Guardian's Path mandatory, so that is set. If you can drop one with everything, go with pacifism. Or maybe near-death experience, well, whatever you like. I personally would prefer pacifism, I think. All in all, I chose to go with Beacon of Itar, even over pacifism, because I just like to be able to use more Serenity and more seven-sided strikes. At least for me, that really did add up a lot. So yeah, this is my pick there, and it really, I tested it around a bit, and at least in free-for-all, this was by far superior over pacifism. Even if I did fight witch doctors or barbarians, this one just stood out to be able to use more seven-sided strikes and serenities. depending on the classes you fight, if you fight one-on-ones, you might be able to switch out Dashing Strike for Fist of Thunder or for even Breath of Heaven with where it is there. Okay, I can't put it there. Breath of Heaven with, for example, the Damaging Rune or something, or Cyclone Strike to just get targets near to you. But yeah, this is an all-round spec I use for free-for-all that works very well. But you need somewhat of decent spirit regeneration for that. I got around 10 and that works very well, even with no spirit generator there. But yeah, as said, I really had, even if I went with dual-wield setup, I had a hard time to generate enough spirit by attacking, so I just had to rely on passive spirit regeneration anyways. So I just tried out to drop spirit generators and it works very well with at least 10 spirit regeneration for me. So yeah, that's about the spec for two-hand weapons, or the general idea what I deem mandatory: Wave of Light, Seven-Sided Strike, Serenity, Mentor of Healing, and Guardian's Path. And the rest is a bit about your preference and what your gear allows you to do. Talking about the dual-wield spec for dual-wield setups, about the mantra. In my opinion, Mantra of Evasion is the best there. Which rune you take is a bit up to your decision or preference. I personally deem Divine Protection the best. Hard target for more armor and more mitigation, of course, is beneficial. Backlash sounds okay on paper, but yeah, no, well, it just works if you are really near stuff. So that really only applies in yeah, fights against other melee classes, so in Monk vs Monk or Monk vs Barbarian. But yeah, normally fights don't last as long to really benefit from the backlash there. So I personally deem the yeah, the little shield when going below 25% there, and the damage reduction for 3 seconds. I deem that the better option there, but it's open to your personal preference. My personal pick would be Divine Protection. But in general, as two-hand set, as dual-wield setup, I mean, I would go with Mantra of Evasion and a more yeah, dodgy build. And yeah, I would definitely go with a Fist of Thunder. So yeah, you have to decide which skill you want to ditch. I think the best would be to yeah, remove Dashing Strike and just get Fist of Thunder there. So with the Thunderclap, that just gets you teleporting sorted, and you still have all the high damage skills you want at your disposal. Exploding Palm if you have runners, Wave of Light for the burst damage, and the I win button with Seven-Sided Strike. Not as efficient with one-hand weapons, but still a high damage attack. So yeah, that's kinda just a minimal change there. Just switch the mantra to Evasion with the rune of your choice and get Fist of Thunder in your spec. It doesn't have to be the replacement for Dashing Strike. It's just my suggestion. As said, all I was talking about so far, it's just based on my personal opinion and experience. So for you, another setup can work out very well. So yeah, that's about the specs, and I think I already covered almost everything. Maybe yeah, about the best in slot, or what I deem the best in slot for dual-wielding. In my opinion, that would be the, how is it called, the Fist of Asterisk or something. The fist that looks like a club, and with a default stun chance and spirit regeneration, and the Aegean Fury. That would be my best in slot to read setup for the crowd control it provides, for the attack speed that it provides. The Fist of Asterisk has a default attack speed roll. Aegean Fury has a default attacks per second roll. So yeah, all in all, you get high attack speed there. It might even be fast enough to yeah, even get some benefit out of life on hit there, even though you normally don't hit as often to re-benefit there. But yeah, that would be my best in slot pick: Fist of Asterisk and the Aegean Fury. Of course, with as high damage as you can afford, and if possible, some life on hit. So yeah.